Caddy's on Cordell is located in the heart of Bethesda. Come out to Caddy's and relax. Grab a drink, order up some food, meet your friends, and enjoy the game on one of our many flat-screen televisions. If the weather is nice, we got you covered too with our front and rooftop patios. Caddy's is a proud sponsor of Ball Hogs Radio.
If you're hearing this angelic voice, that means one thing. You were listening to Ball Hogs Radio. I'm going to talk like this the whole time.
Are you?
Delilah.
During
was it 107, 97.1 Delilah?
Who was the person before Delilah? He was my man.
It's a guy, right?
Jack Diamond? No.
No.
He's
No.
107.
It was a guy.
Yeah.
Glenn Hollis.
Glenn Hollis.
Yes.
I met him. I actually
Good
talked to
pull.
him in the parking garage because they used to work in the same building. He doesn't. His real voice sounds nothing. Not even close.
Is Glenn
to
Hollis? Here's how I view Glenn Hollis. I always viewed him as a little bit of a heavier set guy with a beard.
He did have a beard.
A little bit, yeah.
He's balding. He's a little bit taller than me.
Okay.
Real nice guy though. I talked to him for like 15 minutes about nothing.
They are really good with, especially Delilah's really good, and she always has the perfect song. She does. I like 97.1. I grew up. True story.
Have you ever made a request?
I grew up on 97.1 and 100.3 because
Yeah,
there's
so did I.
only two stations I got in my house.
Oh, well, I did it because
So
my
I
parents
was
a
like
liked
bomb
it,
shelter.
So, I think we have Luke Thomas from SBNation with us. Luke, you there?
Luke Thomas calling in for the show.
Hey, Luke, this is John Wilkes with Ball Hogs Radio. How are you?
You're live, Luke. How you doing?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. So, we'll waste your time. Let's get right into it. Obviously, the talk around town in combat sports is Pacquiao-Bradley fight. I want to hear your initial reaction after the fight ended and the score was announced.
I think my first tweet was,
I
"You've
knew
got to be kidding me." Listen. I'd like to say that I was surprised in the sense that these things happen in MMA all the time, right? Like, I cover MMA more than I do boxing,
Sure.
although I cover a little bit of both. And you see just ridiculous decisions constantly. But with that, you've got basically your typical fight is 3 rounds, and then your championship fight is 5 rounds. Even if they get 1 or 2 rounds wrong, you can still get, or if you dominate early, you're pretty much okay. Even though the sport, in my judgment, is harder to score. But with this, you have 12 rounds, right? You have 12 rounds to evaluate performance. Like, there's, even if you drop a round or two, you should generally get it right, particularly when one guy is clearly winning.
Sure.
I mean, one guy clearly won that fight. And I've gone back and watched it 3 times now, sound off the whole business, and my score only changed once. I gave either 3 rounds or 2 rounds to Bradley. I mean, listen, here's the reality. A lot of people want to say this is corruption, and I don't know that it is or that it isn't. If it were determined to be corruption, I would not be surprised. But I certainly, at this juncture, have no evidence of that kind of influence.
Well,
what I can tell you, let me make this point real
Go
clear
ahead,
if I can. Sorry, I know I'm going long. But
No,
my
you're good.
point
We
is
love
that it's like I don't even need corruption to be the angle here. Right? It was very clear to me, both in my experience in MMA, my experience in boxing, and my knowledge of, and really everyone's knowledge of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, that you have a ossified regulatory body that believes it's above reproach and doesn't have athletes' best interests in mind, both when it comes to regulation before a match and regulation after a match. It's a joke. And it is a disservice even to one of the world's best fighters.
Well said. Well said. I have to. So you're watching that, all right? If it isn't, let's say you just said it. So it may not be corruption. Okay. What is the other logical explanation for it? Just overall them trying to. I mean, I'm trying to see what would even be the benefit of having a Bradley win that for even future storylines or things like that.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's sort of it's not a natural fit, but it kind of works. It's like a fat chicken and a tight pair of jeans. And maybe she can get by on it, right?
But chances are not.
Chances are probably not. But here's what it would be. It would be the following. Like, for example, I called this the biggest robbery of the modern era, but the one more previous to this one was the first bout between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. and that one did gangbusters on pay-per-view. I think it's one of the top 3 of all time, okay? Now, they wound up doing a rematch, and the rematch, it did, I think, something like 850,000 pay-per-view buys, which, don't misunderstand me, that's a ton of pay-per-view buys, but it was like half of what it did at first, right? Clearly, like, the idea that controversy sells in aggregate. It may not sell exactly at the same level as before. So, I mean, yes, overall, if they do a second bout, overall, this will have launched Timothy Bradley's career. Manny Pacquiao will, of course, continue to make Manny Pacquiao money, and Bob Arum, who promotes both of them, will make overall great money. But if people think that the rematch will do what the first one did, they're dreaming.
So my question is I actually did not order the fight because as a very casual boxing fan, I feel like I had seen enough Manny Pacquiao fights, where they're kind of dancing around the ring a little bit, a lot of defense, but obviously Manny lands a lot of punches, but a lot of times for a casual fan, you can't see that. I start to read my Twitter timeline even before the fight, and people, I feel like, were just as upset as what happened pre-fight as what happened post-fight. Kind of tell us what was going on with that. The whole thing starting with Manny saying he's not going to come out until the Celtics finish, and then nobody knows where he is, and he ends up on the treadmill. I mean, was that almost as big of a mess as the final decision, or at least somewhat close?
I won't say it's as big as the final decision, but it is an annoying thing to deal with. Standard rule, UFC main events typically kick off at 11:30, and then the boxing ones typically at midnight. That's sort of a general rule, and it's here. I mean, the best way to understand it is this: like Manny Pacquiao is, he and Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is more, he's like the bigger draw in boxing. He does slightly bigger numbers in terms of pay-per-view buy rates. He does bigger gate receipts. But if you want to ask like who's the global superstar, it's Manny Pacquiao. I mean, it's not even a contest, right? Like, Floyd Mayweather can go to Europe and sell, but Pacquiao can go anywhere and sell, anywhere, literally. And that's kind of rare. He also has much bigger endorsements than Floyd Mayweather, Hewlett-Packard, Hennessy, that kind of thing. Anyway, so the point being is this: like, boxing is it's a fighter's market. If you're Manny Pacquiao, you can get away with a lot. You can cause delays. You can cause inefficiencies. You can start a fight on your own timeline, up to a reasonable degree, right? He couldn't come out there at 1 a.m. But boxers at that level are so big and so important to the sport and so important to the game, they're going to get away with a lot. And, the other example, of course, is Mayweather, right? So I talked about this in the Junkies the other day. Like, the guy literally beat up the mother of his children in front of them, goes to jail, or supposed to go to jail, and then they push him back so he can fight because they made the claim that this was an economic benefit to the city, which is true, but sort of beside the point. And then today, his lawyers are trying to get him out of jail because they're arguing it could affect his career by being in inhumane conditions. It's like, it's called jail, stupid. That's why you're in there. It's the treatment he's getting, given his status, is exactly what anybody else would get. He is segregated from the population for his benefit, but it's not solitary confinement. It's not. Yes, when you're that big, you get a lot of favors.
We're talking live with Luke Thomas from SBNation. Luke, so let's say that this is some corruption here. What's the angle there? What's going on? Is this to take Manny down a peg so he'll fight Mayweather, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll tell you what the angle is and why I don't buy it, because there's no way to divorce the two. The angle is that, they probably don't want to make the Mayweather fight. So what they're going to do is they're going to have Bob Arum, who promotes both of them under the Top Rank banner, to have Pacquiao lose. And then if he loses, then you book a rematch. And, yes, Pacquiao wins, and all is right in the world. And you've launched your other guy, Tim Bradley, who is, in my judgment, a pretty, Manny Pacquiao's not in his prime. Let's be clear about that. Like, a prime Manny Pacquiao, I think, just eats Bradley's lunch. It probably puts him away.
Mm-hmm.
But Bradley is a very, very good fighter. So you launch this guy's career on the back of somebody else, and I mean that is how you get famous. Like, if you legitimately beat a star or somebody that's well known, that's how you really build your name. So that the argument is this would be an artificial way to do that. but I just don't buy it, right? Because Arum stands to make more money with a Mayweather fight, even though he detests Mayweather. He stands to make legitimately way more money doing that. And this loss profoundly hurts Manny's negotiating power. So maybe, I guess the argument could be from Arum's standpoint, he just doesn't want to do business with Mayweather, and this way he can, with a rematch, right all that's in the world by getting Pacquiao the win he should have got the first time, and all the while build up Bradley in his name. That would probably be the argument, but I just don't see that as particular. It's really hard to execute and would probably be very expensive.
So is Pacquiao and Mayweather never going to happen? Is that just a pipe dream now? Because I'd probably still watch that even though Pacquiao just lost.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would encourage. If people are all like boxing's corrupt and blah 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 and all this stuff, and it's like, even if all that's true and the judges can't get it right, I would still watch Pacquiao Mayweather.
Oh, absolutely.
In a heartbeat. Two biggest. What's special about Pacquiao Mayweather is it's not just the two biggest guys at the time, two all-time pound-for-pound greats who are in the same weight class at the same time. That is like. You just never get stuff like that ever.
Now let me add, or go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, so let's say put yourself in a guy like Dana White's shoes, watching that fight. Obviously, there's so much talk always about boxing and MMA and how they, the rise of MMA versus the fall of boxing. You're Dana White. What's he thinking? Is he thinking this is gold mine for us because those few people that were holding on to boxing, well, guess what? They're going to throw in the towel because what they just witnessed is a complete travesty. Even more people are going to start flocking over to my sport. Do you think something like that was going through his head?
Probably not, no.
No?
No, I don't think so. I really don't buy that argument at all. You might get a couple of people who are just disgusted and will watch the next big UFC pay-per-view in July, and then they'll say, oh, this is great. It's not. We're talking about a negligible amount of people. The reality is, most people in sports have already given MMA a try. Either they like it or they don't. Not everybody, obviously. There's still some people that convert, but that's what you're basically working with here. And, it's like someone made a joke today on Twitter. It's like, oh, the Stanley Cup ratings were in last night, and the Kings, despite looking like beasts this postseason, had a 33% decline in ratings. Someone goes, huge win for the UFC. It doesn't work that way.
Sure.
You don't just randomly start liking another sport. They're related, but they're very, very, very different sports. And I like them both. And I also covered amateur wrestling. I'm like a rare thing though. There's not many combat sports fans. There are combat sports fans. There are boxing fans. There are judo fans. There are MMA fans. But there are not many people who like them all. There's like 5 of us on the planet.
And we have one as a guest tonight. There you go.
Yeah, I just mean the last thing I would say, I know I'm meandering, but the last thing I would say is, it takes something like that for to get that transfer. This meaningfully, in a meaningful way, does nothing for MMA or UFC.
Wow.
And in fact, the UFC 148, where do you think that takes place? Nevada. It takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada. So God help us with who they appoint.
Luke, well, listen, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you giving your thoughts, and we are anxious to hear what you thought about everything that took place. So thank you for joining us. Luke Thomas, SBNation.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
No problem. So, interesting little thing, because I'd actually heard a couple people say that, see, this is why MMA is so much better than boxing. You heard that correlation, and he just shot that down saying there's zero correlation.
About a year and a half ago, I had talked to a friend of mine who's a huge MMA, UFC guy. And I said in 5 years, UFC wouldn't exist.
Wouldn't
I
exist.
said it wouldn't exist.
When was this? 2.5 years ago?
I said about a year and a half ago.
Oh.
And I brought it up again. We were at the bar.
You should double down.
And he was like, we brought it up again to him. And he was like, you know what? I mocked you before. He's like, you're not that far away.
Both sports are dying.
Yeah.
The problem is,
Big trouble.
I think MMA is dying.
Oh, big time.
I do definitely like
they
MMA
can't-
way more, though.
they can't. Well,
It's
here's
an
the pro-
absolute joke.
some of the people are too dominant.
Yeah.
And those stars are also hurt. Like George St. Pierre is hurt. They don't want to see these other guys keep coming and going, so there's no consistency.
Right.
Which is the same thing as boxing. Boxing needs a couple things. They obviously need a guy like Mayweather, they need Manny's, but they also need they need a flashy, dominant heavyweight.
You know what you said? You would have said would have been dead in 5 years as well, about 20 years ago, is WWE. But because that's fixed, because it's actually fake.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
actually,
They have perpetual stars.
yeah. I mean, I bet also when you were growing up and you're like, Mom, what are you watching? The soap opera? There's no way that'll last by the time we're adults.
Good call.
They're still going on. I mean,
but they're dying off too.
people watch drama. People
Well,
watch
anytime you
scripted
can,
drama.
anytime you can create the drama itself, create the script,
Yeah.
it's easy. But here's all I need to hear from Bradley. After the fight, he said, "This is the only sense I need to hear to know that he lost." He said, "I need to go back and look at the tape to see if I won."
Wow.
No boxer in the history of the
Wow.
world has ever said, "I need to look back and see if
I won.
I won."
He was feeling guilty about the fix? That's weird.
The
Like,
frustrating
wait-
thing about somebody who covers boxing and covers what he calls combat sports is he said the decision was wrong, but yet he also said there's no collusion. So,
Well, he just can't see the angle is all he's saying.
but so then what's so
He,
then
he can't
what
see the
is it?
benefit of it.
I mean, there's got to be something.
Heard a couple things.
I did.
I heard my one, obviously conspiracy theories. We're all big fans. I heard Mayweather. This is a crazy one that Mayweather paid them off to have Pacquiao lose, so he would never have to fight him. And it's Mayweather's town.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah, that one I don't believe because I think I mean,
Why would you not believe that? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, but everybody that I've talked to, not one boxing fan that I know, if Mayweather were to fight Pacquiao, gives Pacquiao a fighting chance at all. They say Mayweather probably wins every round. But I don't know what Mayweather thinks. But I truthfully, just in my mind and in what I've seen, I honestly don't believe Mayweather's afraid at all of fighting Pacquiao. Plus, I think
I don't, but I can. How do you put it past Mayweather and his entourage to do something? The dude has money stacked on money.
and what's the only thing he cares about?
Money.
More money. What is a fight going to
No.
A fight like him versus
I would
Pacquiao
say
gets him
no.
more money.
I would argue with you. I would say that the money he does love, but I think the fact that he can walk around saying that he has that perfect, that he's
The greatest
unblemished,
pound for pound fighter.
that he's
Wow.
unblemished.
So in that regard, we could not disagree more.
You
I
don't-
think there's only one thing
Oh.
that Mayweather cares about, and that's money.
No. I think you're
It's
wrong.
Let's not get it twisted.
His
Money
name
is very, very
His
high.
name is not Floyd Perfect Record Mayweather.
Well, because
Well,
Money Mayweather's
Money
catchier.
Mayweather
Come on
goes,
now.
dummy.
But at what
We
point?
call you. People
You've
call you
seen-
Eats.
You've seen
Because it goes well.
You've seen 24.
Not because you eat a
you've
lot.
seen so many interviews and so many things, and truthfully, out of all the interviews you've watched, you've gotten from him that he cares about his record more than his money.
He
No.
No, he definitely cares about his money, but he's got his money.
He has his money.
No,
he needs it
actually,
there.
money-
we're
the
not
money's
sure
still-
about that.
The money's still there. The money will always be there for him.
We're not sure about that, by the way.
Okay.
There's a lot of for every rumor that he has everything paid off is another rumor that he owes $500 million to the IRS. Okay, there are rumors all over the
Okay,
place.
I hear you.
I would say that the
So
fa- the-
that's just where we disagree.
He likes-
you
he
think
likes
his
put-
record is more important than the money, and I disagree.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No. I said obviously we get the money. He flashes money everywhere. Money is the most important thing to 98% of the world.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that you need something else besides the money, and the something else that would cause you to do something like this would be the fact that he walks around saying, "I've never been beaten. No one can touch me.
Because-
I'm the pound
because-
for pound best fighter in the world."
There
I've
is
ne-
this.
I
There is
haven't
this,
heard
though.
him say it
Because
that
if he
much.
wanted the money,
I haven't heard him say it that much. All I've heard him talk about is his money.
Well, because now it's guaranteed because he paid him off.
He does say He does say often that I'm pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Like he
But what
touts
about when
that.
he called out Manny Pacquiao and said, "Do this test and I fight you. Do it. Just come on. Do it."
Of course,
'Cause
because he
maybe he
will
knew he
fight.
wouldn't.
He will fight, but this is why I don't put it past him because look, there's only one thing in this world that that money may not be able to buy, and that's the perfect record.
Right.
And that claim of being
Well,
the best pound
Actually,
for pound.
it can.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He can buy everything in the world, okay?
But why wouldn't?
But
The biggest
staying
conspiracy
undefeated,
theorist on
staying
the show.
undefeated.
I could
Why-
not.
why
I
wouldn't
could
he
not
just-
disagree with you guys more.
Why
in
would-
order for the conspiracy
you know what? I
theory
don't buy
to
that.
work,
I don't buy that.
he needed to care about.
I don't
that.
buy that because then he would have just paid them off for his fight to say that he won his fight, and then he'd still get the money from his fight.
I
So
think-
even if he lost to
I think,
Pacquiao,
I
he-
think. Listen,
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
I think.
I just air high five.
I think
Good job.
I think he came to a conclusion that there will never be a Manny Pacquiao fight because they are on separate sides of the world in regards to how they're going to negotiate the
And
money.
literally.
And literally,
So then, what does this do for him then?
it literally negates the argument that Manny could compete with Floyd when Manny loses to Bradley.
It crushes the conversation.
It crushes the conversation. Now, granted, the
So
conversation
then what
is
about
still
Bradley now?
But Well, that's not conversation.
He's 40-0 or something.
But what I'm saying, even though
He's never lost.
that doesn't work because
and that's why I disagree with you again.
knows Pacquiao won.
Now
so
you
they're
have-
still saying he still won. But let's say he legitimately lost. Let's say he legitimately lost to Bradley. The hype between Mayweather, the people
he didn't.
going to. I know, but what I'm saying is, at the time though, maybe it was closer. Okay, I bet.
Hold on, I'm getting all confused. I'm getting all confused.
I don't
in
know
your
why
conspiracy
I don't know
theory
why
now.
you're being confused
Because
at all.
you're saying
it's being very clear.
I honestly, because you're saying that Mayweather paid for Pacquiao to lose, but then if he didn't actually lose, I don't get
Obviously,
it.
if Floyd did that, okay?
Yeah.
In this hypothetical, if
Right.
Floyd had done that, I'm hoping and thinking that Floyd probably didn't think it would be an absolute kind of travesty and a complete knockout. But if they went to a draw, that Bradley would get the nod. Because obviously, if Manny Pacquiao knocks dude over and dude can't get up, there's nothing that could happen.
Right.
But if it's a split decision that's close on the Mayweather's money pushes over to Pacquiao, now all of a sudden the conversation that people say, Floyd, you're not the best ever. You can't even beat. You haven't fought Pacquiao. And then saying, are you kidding me?
Right.
That chump just lost to Bradley.
Right.
That's all me.
Who's undefeated?
And I'll tell you one other thing. I agree. This is an interesting one. Someone tweeted Ocho Cinco, boys with Floyd, okay, about what his perspective was. And he gave a very non-discreet, he said, I'll just put it like this. There was some powerful people pushing big money across the table on that one. That's what he replied.
That's what Ocho Cinco said.
That's what Ocho Cinco, who is boys with Floyd.
Well, by the way,
Now, granted, I'm not going to take Ocho Cinco.
By the way,
I'm not going to
Wilkes,
take
Wilkes, if you did it that way and you said somehow there was gambling involved, because guess what that would mean?
Oh.
More money. If you put if
Floyd
you
Mayweather
twisted
put
it that way,
I think
50
Wilkes
million
may
on
have,
Bradley.
I think Wilkes may have been part of Wilkes' initial.
then I buy in a
It's a
little more.
conspiracy theory. I didn't realize I had to.
Then I buy in a little more.
But Ocho wrote that.
Well, theories I can either agree with or disagree with.
And all I
the
said
first
is,
one I
all I'm
disagree
gonna
with.
say is
If
some
you would have
powerful
said
people
because
pushed
he
a lot
put
of money across
20
the
million on it,
I don't think even.
then
I don't think even
by
he's
the way,
crazy enough to.
he was plus
I
Bradley.
don't know.
Listen to this. Bradley plus 250 to start the match. Even after all 12 rounds, he was plus 200. If you live bet, so there's 2-1.
So the odds didn't really change.
No, 2-1 favorite basically.
Not enough.
Pacquiao to win after 12 rounds. After 12 rounds, you could have live bet either on your computer or walked up to Vegas real quick. Obviously, walk up to the booth and say, "Give me 2-1 odds that Pacquiao wins."
Before the announcement, and you still would have gotten it.
But between
after
the
fight.
last bell and the announcement, plus
Wow.
200.
That's
200 to
crazy.
1.
When the guy said, like I said, when it goes all back to when the guy said, I have to look at the tape to see if I won.
Yeah.
In my mind, you've already lost.
I am almost booking it. There will be a 30 for 30 in 10 years. That
Like
those three
uncovering-
judges. That those three judges.
Small side note: I just bought 30 for 30 on Groupon
Well,
for.
I will say
that
that
those side judges were influenced by some major money.
I will say that-
and it would not surprise me in that 30 for 30 if that major money came from something associated with Floyd Mayweather's camp. I mean, come on now. That's not that. Isn't that? I mean,
you can't put anything past boxing. It's
Yes. The fact now that you're right. I believe it's a collusion and conspiracy. So to simply say it's not from Floyd Mayweather, I don't know if that's fair for me to say or not. But there is something wrong there. There's something.
these judges have been judging boxing for 20 plus years, each of them.
Yeah.
There's no way, all right, that these experts in their profession
Right.
could have viewed that
they
poorly,
missed that,
they
right.
missed that.
I should have
big
put money
of,
on Bradley because I actually
without
said that he was going to
something
win.
No, my
major
roommate-
going on.
I didn't realize he was going to
No,
win
my
by
roommate.
cheating, but
my
whatever.
roommate. My roommate said the one bet tonight. Bet Bradley.
I was
There's no
going
doubt about
to.
it.
But why
But-
did he say that?
I just thought he was going to
He
win.
said
I thought he
because
was going to win.
If you watch 24/7, Pacquiao is an absolute weirdo.
That's what I said.
He does not care about boxing
Pacquiao
at all.
is off his rails.
Right. Especially of late, because like his Catholic
Oh, he's
faith and
absolutely
like
out
his
of control.
politics and stuff.
He's
Like,
absolutely out of control.
if you watch 24/7, it was
Did they
literally
did 24/7 lead up on this one?
it was a tale of two
Dang,
different.
I need to get HBO back.
It was basically Bradley, and it
Hard
was
Knocks
his
coming.
dad, his trainer, and like one other guy. That was Bradley's camp.
Which that always reminded me of Cotto before the Mayweather. You know, like Mayweather had his entourage. I think it was Miguel Cotto would always have his dad, his brother.
So
his fat friend that he
Manny,
slapped next to.
Manny had
They run on like Rockville.
Manny
you
had,
know,
Manny had
Nelson
like
Street.
7 people behind him. His Freddie Roach and his strength trainer were getting into a fight. They brought on another strike
Is
trainer.
it Manny or
That's not
Floyd?
that's not necessarily
This
new
is
though.
Manny. But I'm just saying.
Manny's dedication has been questioned a lot.
And then then he had a spiritual.
obvious reasons.
Then he had a spiritual advisor.
Yeah.
Which is anytime you have a spiritual advisor, that's always a little weird to me. That's always a red flag. Anytime you have the personal spiritual advisor, that's always a little off. He had another guy who was just an advisor.
Well, let's say all right, let me just wrap up this way then. We don't have to wrap up. But let me ask you this. If I forced you to make a decision about collusion one way or the other, and I said you either have to believe that it was Floyd Mayweather's doing or it was simply whatever the boxing commission is, because remember, there are already posters made for Pacquiao Bradley too.
Yeah.
Which one would you believe more? If I told you it was a conspiracy and you had to choose between either Floyd was behind it or simply boxing was behind it, because they know their sport is dead, they know Mayweather's in jail.
If I had to put money on it, I'd put money on the commission.
Yeah.
It's easier to make that happen.
I put it on Floyd.
I think
30 for 30 in 10 years. It will be a Floyd Mayweather.
I think it's easier.
I mean, that'd be a better conspiracy, but
it's easier
I'll
to
put
make
it on the commission.
It's easier to get the fix going when it's the commission itself.
Yeah.
Versus any other thing.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah,
Stole me
there
from
it
the
is.
Becker.
There it
Yeah,
is.
so basically boxing's effed in the A.
Which is more in trouble. Hey, and by the way, the one thing, and you guys are going to always get on me because I don't ask these questions, but we all agreed to wrap up. You've already compared and said that if it was a heavyweight fight, it'd be different. If Pacquiao does rematch Bradley, are both of them in a situation now where their trainers say, if you don't knock him out, I don't know what's going to happen?
No. I think if they fight again, Pacquiao's going to light his world up.
He lit his world up on Saturday.
Well, I mean,
so does your
no.
training change to the point
No.
where if you don't knock Bradley out, it's out of our hands? That's the only way it's in a boxer's hands.
I've always heard the boxing adage that you have to, when you're fighting a champion, you have to severely beat a champion. You can't just beat them. You have to go out of your way to beat them, or you're not going to get the decision.
Which is another reason why this is so ridiculous.
Well, anytime a sport has judges that determine outcomes, in a sense that boxing does, that's why it's a competition, not a sport.
You heard it. You heard it there from Wilkes.
Yeah, it's not.
That's why it's a competition,
Wow.
not a sport.
It's not.
Never heard that before. That's brilliant.
So,
Yeah,
well, we're
you didn't
gonna
come up with that.
so we're gonna take a quick little
I'd
break.
like to believe I did.
We're gonna jump into some basketball. NBA Finals start tonight. We have some strong opinions here at the table about who's going to win, who you're rooting for, and plus Dave Mancarini joined us here at that bottom of the hour. QO Quince Orchard football ball coach.